tonight in that summer freedom, hanging on the beach the weekend, 7 days a week. Nothing compares to what we're feeling. Staying young forever in that summer freedom. Moonlight, longer, sun's freedom. Silent goodbyes. Freedom. Side All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Two Tone Talk by God pod. We have got a special guest tonight, and I'm so excited for this. Have been on this man's show before. He had me on as a guest, and so tonight I am returning the favor. Maybe he's returning the favor to me. I don't know. However that works. It is good to have Titans Rossi of the Titan Upload Network joining us. You can see his beautiful background that he has right there with the beautiful city of Nashville. It was not like that a couple of minutes ago. You should all know that a couple minutes ago it was just a brick wall behind him.
Right.
We had to try to figure it out. But I appreciate you being on tonight, and thank you for taking time out to hang out with us, man.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked to be on, Brad. I'm a big fan of yours. I also watch your music stuff, which I love too. I think it's a really cool thing that you do over there as well. And yeah, man, I'm excited to be on. Anytime I get to talk Titans, that's why I have a YouTube channel. Sometimes I wonder, why do I do this? Like, why do I put myself through the misery? And all this and that. But you know what, man? I'm such a diehard fan, and I love the community. Yeah. I love that, this community brought a lot of creators, me and you. We probably would have never ever crossed paths.
Right.
So me and Upload, that's how I got involved in the Titan Upload network, and now me and Mark, Titan Upload, we're best friends now. So it's it's because of this community that, and I've created some lifelong friends, and it's a cool deal, even though the Titans have been terrible the last couple seasons, but I digress.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's like you said, when you get bit by the bug, it is one of those things that the football, in our case, Titan fan bug.
Yeah.
You're stuck with it for better or for worse, even on tough seasons like the last couple. First thing I want to ask you is, you talk about, and it's interesting, you talk about how your diehard Titans fandom has kind of led to all of this for you. What was the beginning of your Titans diehard fandom? What's your origin story of how you came into this fan base?
Yeah, so honestly, for me, man, it has a lot to do with my father. He passed away 2003. He had a couple year battle with lung cancer, but it was the one thing that we did growing up as a family. Like when the Titans came to Nashville, or came to Memphis for that matter. We started watching the games, and it was one thing that me and my dad, my mom, and my brother and sister, we all did together.
Yeah.
Whether it was watching the games from home, going to the stadium, and my dad absolutely loved Steve McNair and Frank Wycheck. Those were his guys, and in turn, I kind of adopted that love for the team, and and I think a lot of people, it's like, the first year they're actually in Nashville. The first year with the new stadium.
Yeah.
They're across the river. They got their own stadium. We go to the Super Bowl. So it's like, yeah. I think a lot of fans became fans then, because it was like, holy crap, we got this team where we're like in the Super Bowl. It's our first year here in the new stadium. And I think it kind of spoiled us a little bit, you know.
Right.
And we had those few really good seasons, and I don't know. I've just been such a major fan since. I love the whole kind of identity behind the team, the underdog mentality, the this and that. And now it's kind of weird because we're going through this thing now, Brad, where the identity's about to change.
Yeah.
So,
No kidding.
am I still gonna be, as big into it? No, I will be, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be weird because we are going through this identity change and this culture change, and I think, we're gonna see things this season that we haven't seen as Titans fans ever, possibly.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, it's it's an exciting time for sure, and I think that my first question, I know people are going to get so aggravated at the fact that we're still talking about this, but it's still, I mean, something that I personally did not see coming this
well,
offseason was the firing of Mike Vrabel. I think, you know, Mike Vrabel was the epitome of a Tennessee Titans coach and what you would expect. Tough, old school, physical. I mean, that's what he was all about. And so in that way, he fit that Tennessee Titans identity. Not a lot of people thought he was actually going to be fired. I sure didn't think it was actually going to happen, but it did. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I was one of those where I I was shocked, but I understood it. But I want
right.
to know where you kind of stood on that. How surprised were you, and what do you think was the death nail of his Tennessee Titans
Yeah, I
run?
mean, I was shocked. I was shocked and I wasn't shocked, if that makes sense. I mean, I I think the nail in the coffin was the Texans game. I think that
I agree.
that game, you're sitting there, and also I remember another game in the season too. It was Tampa Bay, and we
Oof,
lost like 20-6 that game.
brutal.
And I went down to Tampa for that game, and shout out to Sin City Titan, another guy who I've met through the community. I went down there and stayed with him and his family for a couple days. We went to the game, and I remember we were sitting way up high. It was super hot, South Florida sun beating down on us. And I remember just sitting up there being miserable and talking to Alex, and saying, like, dude, like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Like, what, they're not even like trying to do anything different. And then we get to the Houston game, and you
You're
think,
talking
because
about
I don't,
the first one, the Oiler throwbacks.
the second game.
Oh, the road one was
Was
this.
it the second game?
We played them twice in like 3 weeks, so
It
it's
was the throwback game.
okay
It
at
was the
home.
throwback game at home. We get to the throwback game. And I don't think that was long after Tampa Bay, from what I remember. I have
Yeah,
to go back and look at the schedule. And they're just pounding Derrick Henry up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. The lowest yards per carry he's had in his career. Just all this stuff, all these bad records for him. And you're just like, you're thinking, are they purposely trying to lose this game? That was the first time I ever thought in Mike Vrabel's tenure where I was like, are we purposely trying to lose? Is he trying to get himself fired? He's wearing the cowboy hat and the boots and, just all this stuff. And I think that was the nail in the coffin, dude. I really do. I think Amy was like, I've seen enough. Like, I've seen enough of this guy. Like,
yeah.
I'm tired of the buddy system. I'm tired of the same old mentality here in Tennessee. And look, I commend her for doing it. I think it was the right move at the time. Now, okay, was it the right move? Could they have gone another year with Vrabel? Like, I almost feel like they should have gave him one more season just with all the money and all that. But at the same time, what would we have got? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, Derrick Henry was gone anyways.
Yeah.
So gone are those just pound it, pound it, pound it. Because then all you got Spears. Yeah, okay. Say Mike Vrabel brings on Tony Pollard. He wouldn't have brought on Tony Pollard. Mike Vrabel would have brought in like a bruiser, and
Julius
we'd be
Chestnut.
Yes, and we'd be doing this same old. Honestly, man, I'm cool with it. Like did I like it? I don't know, man. I was torn. I think a lot of people were torn because a lot of people really liked Mike Vrabel.
Hmm. I like him. I
Oh,
do.
yeah,
It's not a. I think he's a good coach. I think he will get another job. I'm surprised he didn't
right.
get hired this coaching cycle. But it's funny you say what you said because I don't want to bore any listeners that have heard me say this a million times. Bucks game that you mentioned. Up until that point, I felt like the people calling for Vrabel's head were way out of line. I was like, you know what? It's fine. It's whatever. That Bucks game, I think, was the first time I was ever like, all right, okay, do we need
Yeah.
to have a talk? And then that first Houston game, I've talked about it a bunch. That game plan was bizarre. I still don't even know what I watched in that game. So yeah, I totally agree with what you said. I think that um, he kind of had a way that he thought things had to, were going to be done. He loved taking a practice squad guy and elevating him, and while that can win you some games, it's not going to get you to your ultimate goal. That's my opinion. You're not beating Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and guys like that by doing that kind of thing. Um,
Right.
and that brings me to the new coach, Brian Callahan. Obviously, former offensive coordinator for the Bengals. He's worked with Peyton Manning. He's worked with Joe Burrow. He's worked with Matt Stafford. We know the story on him and his dad coming with him to coach the offensive line. What are your thoughts on that hiring? I don't even think you and I have gotten to talk about this until right now. So, what are your thoughts on that hiring? A lot of Titans fans are, of course, excited because this is the first time from my memory, this is the first coach we've had that's actually going to try to change the identity. Him and Rand Carthon are going to try to change the identity of what this team is
Right.
known as. What are your thoughts on Brian Callahan? What are you most excited about or not excited about when it comes to him?
Yeah, I mean, as far as if you were going to go out and get somebody and you had to get somebody, I think I love it. I think Brian Callahan was one of the top guys out there. I love the offensive minded mentality. The fact that he brings in Bill Callahan is just incredible. I think that could be one of the X factors of the season. And he hired a great staff. I mean, Denard Wilson, I
Yeah,
think people are super excited about him. I mean, I think a lot of people are more excited about Denard Wilson than they are Brian Callahan.
yeah,
I mean, it's just the pedigree of coaching that's in that building right now is awesome. And honestly, like when you look at Vrabel's tenure and you look at, kind of the Tim Kelly, the Todd Downings, um, the I'm drawing a blank, the defensive coordinator that was there,
uh,
Bowen.
yeah. I couldn't think of it either.
I mean, and Bowen was decent. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yes,
Bowen was not like a bad defensive coordinator, but it was still like I don't know. It still kind of had that buddy feel to it. And I liked that. And look, every coach is going to hire their buddies. Like every single coaching staff in the NFL has buddies on there, has their
yes,
friends. Brian Callahan hired a lot of people that he knew. He also hired people that he didn't know, which I really liked. But it's all about evolving, man. I think that's what Amy wants. She wants to evolve. She said it herself. Brad, she said that this is not my father's NFL, which I thought was an amazing quote.
mm,
And it's not, it's just not. And I'm glad we're kind of, heading that way. And I love the hire. I mean, I love watching mini camp and OTA videos of Bill Callahan out there yelling and,
yeah,
doing his thing. And it's like, oh my gosh, we got a good offensive line coach finally again.
yeah.
Um, and it's exciting.
Absolutely, and I think that I saw a graphic earlier today. And we already know nobody has had a better group of running backs than the Titans. You know,
Right.
with Campbell and Eddie and CJ2K, now Derrick Henry. That's a Mount Rushmore of of running backs right there. But in today's NFL, as great as a good running game is, the way the Titans were doing it, it's they had some success, but ultimately, like you said, Amy called it like she saw it, and that was that the league's changing, and the days of just ground and pound all the time, not so much the way to do it anymore. And so on that note, Will Levis, we saw some good stuff from him last year. The debut against Atlanta, of course, was sensational. The Monday night game in Miami comes to mind. I always bring
Yeah.
up his second start, the Thursday nighter at Pittsburgh. His second
Yeah.
start ever on a short week. I mean, he had 3 days to prepare for a good Steelers team on the road. I thought he held his own pretty well in that game. So we've seen some good stuff from Will Levis, but there are some who are skeptical. Where do you stand on Will Levis? Obviously, we're hopeful. We have tremendous optimism. We're a little biased. But, what do you see the signs there that this could be the guy for years and years to come?
I do, like I'm excited about Will. I mean, our show, we got a show tonight, and that's what it's basically about, is Jim Wyatt's article that came out today, about Will. And Will said that he's been nonstop preparing, and the coaches have talked about it, how this guy has just been nonstop all off season. I mean, he's really putting in the work, watching film, things like that. There are a lot of quarterbacks in Titans history that we drafted that you never heard reports coming out like that,
Yeah.
where they were staying after practice watching film. I mean, I could name a few. I'm not going to, because I might upset some people. But, it's just, there are. I mean, there are a lot of guys who haven't. And I just feel like his work ethic. Now, does Will Levis have, is he going to be a top 3 quarterback, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? I don't know. Is he capable of that? I think so. I think he could be like a top 10 type of quarterback. You know what I mean? Like kind of that 5 to 10 range at his top ability. But I think Will is going to be that type of guy. He's always going to be kind of a gunslinger. But that doesn't mean he can't win championships, and that doesn't mean that he can't go out there and win a lot of ball games and help the Titans win a lot of ball games. I think he's tough. I love his toughness. And I think he's really working hard. And I think Will Levis is one of those type of people, is he's going to give it his all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's going to give every bit that he has. And hey, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I know, he's one of those players that you're not going to be able to say, well, it wasn't from a lack of effort. It wasn't from a lack of him working on his mechanics or working on film. But I really do, man. I think he is the right quarterback right now for the Titans.
I agree. And one thing I love that they've done, we knew going into this offseason the Titans had a lot of money to work with and a top 10 draft pick.
Right.
I love that they have gone all out to improve the receiving group, improve the offensive line, bringing in Pollard to put with Spears, so that it's all, he has everything he needs. I mean, with the group he's got around him, he's got everything he needs to show if he's the guy or not. So, on that note, the free agency this year, the Titans came out swinging, and it was an exciting free agency. I mean, Ridley, the trade for Snead, Awuzie, Boyd, Pollard. I mean, Cushenberry. I mean, big time guys that brought in. Which free agents, and I'll include L'Jarius Sneed in this because that was a trade, but still, which new members through free agency or trade are you the most excited to see this fall? Which ones kind of have you the most amped up?
I mean, Cushenberry, that's an exciting pick. I think he's one of the best centers in the league, and it's going from Aaron Brewer, who I don't know how he got that insane contract in Miami, but
Yeah,
all power to him.
yeah, good for him.
Um, but yeah, I mean Cushenberry. I mean, we finally have a good center again. After the past couple seasons without really having Ben Jones around, even the season. I mean, he was played hurt a lot,
Hmm.
but having a good center again, and also, um, yes, I mean the Sneed. I think bringing in Sneed was a fantastic pickup. I mean,
Yeah,
the Titans haven't had a shutdown corner probably since like Cortland Finnegan,
yeah,
maybe if you think about it,
yeah.
and that was kind of short lived. So it's good that we have a guy like Sneed and Chidobe. I think is a fantastic pickup too. I'm not as really excited about Kenneth Murray. I really don't know what they really saw in him, but I hope he steps up. I mean, in San Diego, he was mainly a pass rusher,
Right.
so hopefully he steps up, and it would be nice to see the Titans bring in another safety, aka Justin Simmons.
Yeah.
But I don't know. At this point, I feel like they're almost content to roll with what they got, but still a lot of time left.
Yeah, when you think about it, I mean, getting toward the end of June, it is a pretty remarkable thing when you look at how they've improved the secondary, the wide receiving group. Offensive
Yeah.
line, there's still some stuff to work out, but I mean, it looks like the offensive
Yeah,
line's.
I mean Ridley. I should have said Ridley too. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that's got me super pumped.
Well, and we stole them from the Jaguars too. That's the cherry on
Oh
top.
yeah. Oh man, that was the best thing about it all. Like
Yeah.
that was the best thing about because they wanted him back. Like
Right.
and don't let a Jaguars fan tell you they didn't because they did.
Absolutely. And that when you talked about Vrabel earlier and things that would not have happened this offseason if he'd stayed, I don't think Vrabel would have wanted to go after Calvin Ridley. I think honestly, I think Vrabel would have tried to bring back Chris Moore, and God bless Chris Moore, but I think he would have
Yeah.
tried to bring back Moore, keep Westbrook Akine up toward the top of the list, and maybe bring in a you know third tier guy to kind of round out the group. That's what I think would have happened. But I was glad to see the Titans get aggressive and top wide receiver in the free agent market. I was surprised to see it, but glad to see it
Yeah.
because that's another way I think that they kind of said, "Hey, we understand. We got to get weapons out there." And how do you feel about Traylon Burks? I mean, since we're talking about Ridley, I know there are Titans fans that are like, God, I'm sick of hearing about this. But, I mean, this is a first round pick from a couple of years ago. Now you've got, I mean, to me, the best he could be right now is the fourth guy
Yeah.
behind Ridley, Hopkins, and Boyd. Some stuff Callahan has said has got people like, he talked about special teams, and it's
Mm.
got people thinking that Burks might be just going down the pecking order a little bit. How do you feel about him?
Yeah. Well, and we had Teron Davenport on a couple times, with the last time we had on, and we kind of brought this up with Teron, and he's basically like, "Where's the snaps going to be?
Right.
How's he going to get any snaps? I mean, unless any of these guys get injured, and knock on wood. I mean, hopefully they don't, but more than likely there's going to be some injuries throughout the season. But you got Boyd, Ridley, and Hop. Where's the snaps going to come from? So that's the thing. His snaps are going to be very low. So I think it's put up or shut up. Like he's got to do the most with what he's given, and that includes special teams.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're basically saying. Like, hey, you gotta step it up. You gotta show what you got on special teams. Now, I believe if he goes out there and hustles, and he makes every play that he can, and he takes advantage of the limited snaps that he gets on offense, then yeah, you're talking about, okay, well, maybe this guy does have something if he can stay healthy. That's the thing. I think having him as your fourth guy, he's going to get who knows how many snaps. If he gets 300-400 yards this season, I would be impressed by
Yeah.
that. I'm considering, because I think Boyd's going to get a lot of playing time.
Oh yeah.
And obviously Ridley and Hop are going to get a ton of playing time. So, I guess what I'm interested to see, Brad, is like how many snaps does NWI and Burks get? Like, and does NWI get the majority of the snaps? Because I think if NWI gets the majority of the snaps over Burks, then I think Burks is definitely gone come next season.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask this question later, but it just feels like a good time to ask. If assuming there are 6 wide receivers when the final 53 comes out, we know the top 3. Who do you? Because you have a certain guy on the receiving group that I've seen you go to bat for on Twitter a few times.
Oh yeah.
Who do you think rounds out that receiving group?
And I've said this on my show multiple times. Like, a lot of people do dog on us for being such big Kinsey supporters, and there's a reason we are. We know his family and stuff like that. So it's not there's a reason we are, but in a realistic sense, we are realistic too. And this is going to be the toughest offseason for Mason, considering all the good wide receivers, all the top name wide receivers that they have here. It's going to be very tough for him. And if the Titans keep 6, I don't see him making that final roster. Now, I think Kinsey's going to be one of those guys that continue to be on the practice squad, and he'll continue to add value, and they'll call him up when they need him. But if they keep 7, I think he could slip in. If they keep 6, I don't think he is, because I think, obviously Hop, Burks, Boyd, NWI, who am I missing? Ridley.
Yeah.
That's 5, right?
That is 5.
And then the Jackson kid, I think they're going to keep him just because he was drafted in the 6th round. I don't think there's any way.
Are you talking about
Jaquan?
Okay, because there's also Kieris Jackson from
that
they had. last year.
I think it's Jaquan Jackson all the way as the 6th guy, just because they drafted him in the 6th round. If he was drafted in the 7th, maybe I could see him getting cut if he was just bad in camp and didn't show anything in preseason. But they already love them some Jaquan Jackson. I mean, he's all in the media and he's all this and that. But which, look, I'm not hating on the guy. I think he's quick, he's fast, he's been exciting to watch. And I hope all these guys do well. Like, I really do. Like, I hope even the guys who are just from the bottom of the bottom, I hope they all do well. But I think realistically, you're looking at 6. Burks is one of those. Jackson is one of those. If you go to 7, which historically Callahan has kept 7, or they've kept 7 in Cincinnati. So I don't know. I guess let me turn it on you. If they keep 7, who do you think the 7th guy is?
With those 6 you named, if you keep a 7th, I know people are ready to throw in the towel on Kyle Phillips.
Yeah.
I still feel like, I mean, was it the Steelers game where he made some really nice plays?
He made some good plays.
At Tampa Bay, the game you were at, he made some nice plays. My only thing with him is his durability. I feel like he is is like glass. I mean, he just breaks so easily. But, I mean, keeping a 7th, that definitely opens up hope for him and Mason Kinsey. I think if they kept a 7th, I would throw Kieris Jackson's name back out there. I think, because he was mostly brought in as he was returning kicks last year, which I think is what they would have Jaquan Jackson probably doing, because, I mean, if it's speed. But if I have to give a final answer, I would give that 7th spot to Kyle Phillips. I think they've been posting clips of him in practice, and I know that has no bearing, but I think, if it would have to be something where they literally, he does so good in camp where they're like, we have to put this guy on the roster,
Yeah.
But also, if you've got Boyd playing in the slot, I mean, you'll talk about limited snaps. I mean, you're now talking about a guy who, when Boyd needs to get some Gatorade, this guy will get in there, Kyle Phillips, and
Right.
get a couple snaps. So, if I had to, I would say Kyle for now, but it's awesome that we can even have the conversation because in years past, it's been like, well, we have two guys that I could say for sure, and then everybody else is just here.
Oh man, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
So I'm glad we can even discuss the seventh guy and who that might be because the others are so obvious. On that same line, offensive line, to me, I feel like the right side is definitely the question marks because Latham, who I'm excited about him. Huge guy. Latham, Skoronski, Cushenberry, and then that right side's kind of, we're not sure yet, and we'll have to see kind of how that plays out. Who would be your guess right now? Right guard, right tackle.
Yeah, so for what we're hearing for guard, it's Sadiq Charles. At guard, and then at right tackle, either MPF or there's a guy. Who's the other guy there? Jawan something that they're
Right
really
tackle?
high on. Yeah, he's a right tackle. They brought him in. He was like maybe an undrafted free agent or something. They've been giving him a lot of praise. I'd have to look him up again, but so I don't know. I really think they take a look at. I don't think Radens is going to be right tackle because they said he was going to be a guard in camp. He had already said that. So
Yeah.
I really think they're going to give MPF another shot to see if he can hold up there. And I think it's probably going to be MPF. And I don't really get the whole Sadiq Charles narrative. Like, I understand he's been a starter in the league, but Brunskill was our highest rated offensive lineman last year, which is sad.
It's a low bar, but
I thought Brunskill did okay, and I think it's gonna, if you go with what's going on right now, Charles seems to have it, have it be in first right now for that right guard, and then I don't know, man. It's up in the air for right tackle. I would say MPF at the moment is maybe what they're looking at. I don't know.
NPF for me, obviously he didn't get a lot of playing time last year between injury and suspension, but the year before that he pretty much played the whole
well.
year. And so now, whether you're talking about him or Radens or Brunskill or Charles or whoever, what gives me peace about it, no matter who it is to know Bill Callahan is picking. That gives me more peace about it to know that, because whether it's Radens or NPF, to know that's who they're working with. Obviously the offensive line was the biggest weakness last year on a team full of weaknesses. And so that's got to be figured out. And so once again, I'm glad to be able to have this conversation in the context of Bill Callahan being, the coach.
Right.
I know you've got a show to get to tonight, so I got two more questions, two more things we'll talk about here.
John Ajokwu. That's what I.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know. It was John Ajokwu. That's what they've been raving about him in minicamp. And then you got the guy Leroy Watson from Cleveland. Yep.
Forgot about
and you got
Watson. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got Jalen Duncan and then the MPF. So it looks like there's probably going to be a 3-4 way battle.
Well, do you think they might use some of the preseason snaps to, I'm sure they will rotate all of these guys in there. And
right.
I know if it were Vrabel, it would be week 1 Saturday night before opening kickoff, and we still wouldn't know who was starting
Right.
until they ran it on the field. Um, like I said, two more questions for you. The first is, what are your
Okay.
biggest areas of concern? I know you already mentioned safety earlier.
Yeah.
What other areas do you think that you're kind of not so
I
sure?
mean, I'm really concerned about the inside linebacker position. There's a lot of people who really like Gibbons. Like, Gibbons had a surprisingly somewhat higher grade than a lot of guys out there. I'm not sold on Gibbons. I don't think he can really guard anybody as far as passing goes. I mean, he's okay against the run. He's not extremely athletic. Kenneth Murray, like I said, Kenneth Murray's kind of. I'm not going to say he's been a complete dud. I mean, he's racked up some tackles and some sacks and stuff, but I don't know, man. That inside linebacker position, I'm really worried about.
Yeah,
The safety position, I'm not as worried about because of who we brought in at cornerback.
right.
Um, and then at right tackle, so right tackle and inside linebacker are really my main concerns. And if you would have told me that would have been really my only main concerns coming into this point of the season, at the end of last season, I would have been like, well,
I'll
okay,
take
well, I
it.
can
Yeah.
deal with that.
What do you
So
think
that's
about
kind of
let's talk about linebacker. What do you think about Cedric Gray, the fourth rounder? I mean, a lot of people
yeah,
were very high on
yeah,
that pick.
right, and really, and yeah, he just passed my mind there for a second. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that if he could come in and be a starter like right away and like really, and he really steps up, like, yeah, I mean, then you're talking about maybe, okay, maybe we do have something at that position, because
Yep.
you plug him in with maybe Kenneth Murray, and then you're talking about, well, maybe you don't have to play Gibbons as much.
Right.
But we don't know. I mean, he's still a fourth round pick. A lot of fourth round linebackers end up being really good. So,
Mm,
maybe he can come in and be that green dot guy and,
yeah.
and give you what you need right off the bat. That would be amazing. And then I'd feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
So interesting to see him like in camp and preseason.
Absolutely. And I echo all of that you said. All those positions. Only two I'll add is defensive tackle. Maybe I've listened to too much Tyler
Yeah.
Rowland. Tyler Rowland on Locked On Titans. He's not high on
Right.
T'Vondre Sweat, as many people know. So I'm a little iffy there. Losing to Nico Autry, I hate that. Even though I
Yeah.
knew it was going to happen, so I'm a little skittish on D tackle and edge rush and things like that. But offensively, I would say, in addition to right tackle, I'm a little concerned about tight end. I know not a lot of people are as, but I mean
Right.
Chigokonkwo, I thought he regressed a little bit in year two. Got it together toward the end and looked more like the Chigokonkwo that we had uh, seen his rookie year. Josh Wiley, big guy, so we'll see about him. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'd say the tight end position is really one of the biggest question marks for me on offense, other than right tackle.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, and Josh Wiley's one of those guys, super athletic, super tall, like really fast for his size. And man, if he can come on, like him and Chig together would that'd be pretty awesome
Yeah,
duo. I mean, you don't really seem to have kind of that bruising tight end. I mean, I know they got the Thomas Odukoya guy. He was the one of the foreign players that
yeah,
really. I mean, last camp they said like he was one of the strongest dudes on the team. Um, the way he was built and everything. But yeah, I mean, really, right now, those are the only two guys that you really have much faith in. And Chig's gotta catch the ball right at the start of the season. We can't
yeah.
have this like 9-10 game skid like he did last season. He picked it up
True.
towards the end, latter half, but a lot of expectation on Chig right now. And if he doesn't step up, I think you're going to be looking at kind of a similar situation as last season.
Yeah, and I hope that's not the case. Um, I know you've got to go here in a second. before you do this,
Yeah.
this last question's a fun one, so I'll end with this.
Okay.
But before that, I want you to tell everybody where they can find. Obviously, you guys are about to do a show tonight, right?
Yeah.
Titan Upload Network. Tell them where they can find you on X. I'm trying to get used to calling it X. On X, YouTube. Let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, definitely. You can find me on X at Titans Rossi. I'm pretty active on there. We have a X. We're trying to build up our one on X with the network, but it's at Tighten Up Network. But you can always find me at Titans Rossi. And yeah, I mean the YouTube channel. Just type in Titan Upload Network. It'll pop up there, and we've been rocking and rolling, having a lot of good guests on, and just putting out content like usual, and it's been fun, man. So yeah, just look us up on there. We're not really have much of a presence on Facebook and Instagram and all that, but we're trying to build that up too. But mainly on YouTube and X.
Good deal, man. This last one might be a little tough for you.
All right.
Top five Titans all time. So your
Okay.
Mount Rushmore plus one.
All right. So yeah, I mean Steve McNair would be number one for me. Um, number two, I'd have to say Blaine Bishop. I was always,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, for whatever reason, I was always a huge Blaine Bishop fan. Like
Yeah.
when I was younger. Number three, I'd have
Hey,
to say,
real quick, something about Blaine Bishop when you mentioned him.
yeah,
Last year before the season, you mentioned earlier I do music as well. I put out a
uh-huh.
hype video for the season. It was me singing "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins, and
Yeah,
I put it on
I
Twitter.
saw that.
Yeah, and I got on there and I had a message from Blaine Bishop, and
That's great.
it was like, "Man, I love your video, great video." And I saw it and I was like, "This can't be that Blaine Bishop." Because
Yeah, man, that's
and I
great.
went, yeah, I was like starstruck. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? Blaine Bishop?
Yeah,
He's the
he came
man.
on the channel. Like, it was awesome, man. The
Yeah, he's
upload,
great.
like, kind of had a connection through somebody and got him on, which was really cool. But yeah, so McNair, Blaine, I'd say number three would be Frank Wycheck for
Yeah.
me. Number four, Derek Mason.
Yeah.
And it's hard, man. Like, number five, I'd have to say it's kind of a mix between Keith Bullock and Javon Curse.
Oh, yes.
I mean, Eddie, like, I liked Eddie, but I wasn't, look, Eddie's definitely my top 10, but I wasn't as big on Eddie as some people, but I think he was a great player, and, like,
Yeah.
obviously he was tough, but that would probably be my top five. I'd have to say Curse, man, at number five. Like, he was
The
just
freak.
the freak. So yeah, I mean, those would be my top five. I would say just right off the top of the dome. I'd have to say
Yeah.
that's my top five. So,
Man, all of those are part of the reason why
yeah, all
got
from
into
that
this.
era.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Man, and I hope that we can get back to that kind of level where, because those teams,
yeah,
they were in the playoffs every year, always right there, one of those teams that were in the conversation, similar to what you would see from a Buffalo today or a Cincinnati, those kind of teams that are just always lurking around. So I hope we get back to that someday. I appreciate you coming on tonight, man, and we'll have
yes, sir.
anytime you want to come on, especially once we get to the season and things are crazy, I'd love to have you come back and hopefully talk about how great things are going at that time.
Absolutely.
But thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you to everybody for listening on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you listen, and for watching and listening on YouTube. Hope everybody has a great rest of their week. Tighten up, everybody. Bye.
Tighten up, folks.